What's going on, guys? Welcome back. NFL commentary for you. Do me a favor, like button, subscribe button, criticism in the comment section, Twitter. Shutdown Safety is my username. A lot of interesting things happening right now. Trending on Twitter is Las Vegas Raiders, and there's a lot of things that really don't line up with the way the NFL and even the Raiders, I think, line of thinking publicly should have went. So we all understand that the Rams are headed back to Los Angeles, and most of us, including myself, were left with the impression that Mark Davis, the owner of the Raiders, in order to approve that as an NFL owner, should have had something in place that allowed his team to be assisted with funding or acquiring a stadium. You know, he had the most cards, no pun intended, to play in that situation. So if he let another team in the state with, basically funding for a stadium that he needs worse than either team that was involved in that, whether we talk about the Chargers or the Rams, that is a failure on his part. Now we have the Sands Casino. He'll be meeting with the CEO tomorrow, apparently, who has been proposing this billion-dollar stadium for UNLV. However, that stadium, if it's built, is not dependent on the Raiders playing there. They've already came out and said, we want to use this as a sports complex, for not just, UNLV football, but boxing, festivals. It's going to be more than just a college football stadium. Now, don't get me wrong, the Raiders playing there would be a huge acquisition for them and certainly a major key in what they're trying to do and make money, but that stadium doesn't hinge on the Raiders being there. Now, the NFL has had a really weird relationship with Vegas. They don't like their teams playing or aiding states that have legalized gambling. The ironicness to that is they're okay with playing in London because, in my opinion, it benefits the NFL, so they'll let that slide. If anyone goes to look back, Tony Romo had a fantasy football organized convention that he had planned in July earlier this year. And the NFL actually came out and spoke about it when they essentially canceled the event so that it could be moved to Los Angeles for next year. And I'll read you the quote from Fox Sports from an NFL spokesman. Quote, "Players and NFL personnel may not participate in promotional activities or other appearances at or in connection with events that are held at or sponsored by casinos." So perhaps it's not so much the gambling they have a problem with, but it's the casinos. So if this is the stance that the NFL took as recently as earlier last year, June of last year, why would Mark Davis assume that they would be okay with their team permanently playing at a facility in part owned by a casino? Ironically, the NFL moves it to a city that now holds a franchise, that being the Los Angeles Rams. So I don't know exactly where all this is coming from, but certainly if the Oakland Raiders don't have a stadium plan in place, and they've allowed other teams to essentially enter their market, there's a breakdown majorly in ownership. And personally, that's something I never thought Al Davis would have ever allowed. He was fierce and tenacious in representing the Raiders, and it seems like, based on what's happening now, we're learning through Mark Davis's actions that perhaps he isn't that savvy as a businessman. So I would love to know your guys' opinions on this. I appreciate you checking it out. I'll be back in the week with more content.